holidays, Animaniacs, and are you ready for another list ranking our favorite holiday moments from established series in completely arbitrary ways? Yeah, let's talk about that. Nearly every multi-season cartoon that has ever been made has a Christmas episode, and yes, it is usually a Christmas episode, not a non-dominational holiday one, though a good handful have tried to spread the fairly PC joy around. Still, through sheer number, I certainly haven't seen them all, and I am sorry if your favorite doesn't make the list. But that's also the thing. The holidays being a time that's so rooted in our nostalgia that regardless of what anyone tells you is objectively the best or objectively terrible, we'll always be partial to the ones featured in our favorite and childhood shows. Something made very clear in the comments of my Polar Express review, so I'm not going to pretend that this is anything other than a completely subjective list based on my own nostalgia and personal taste, which is really how all lists work anyway. But I'm also not putting them in any particular order. I'm not counting down to a perceived grading scale of quality ending in the single best episodes. I watch all of these specials at the holidays, and my favorite largely depends on whatever I'm in the mood to watch that day, whether for its comedy, its subversion of holiday tropes, or its genuine emotional sentiment. So finally, these are my top 12 really great holiday episodes. Kids Next Door, Operation Naughty. Poor regular show, it keeps barely missing the list. And in all fairness, they probably should have been on the Thanksgiving list instead of Teacher's Pet. Still, if I had to pick my favorite evolved Christmas mythology framed as a parody of an action movie, oddly enough, I would prefer the parody of X-Men to the parody of Lord of the Rings. But I will give you that it has one of the most badass smart aleck Santas ever. I am always very impressed at the kinds of stories that Kids Next Door was able to get away with just by using child-friendly substitutions for more mature subjects. Only this time, because it's part of the actual concept, it doesn't come across as incredibly insulting. It's clever, it's imaginative, and occasionally an homage factory. For Operation Naughty, the Kids Next Door confront a special squad of elves. An Alpha Squad, if you will. Yes, the references are pretty blatant, especially with that Stan Lee-style narration over a comic book. The opening has a pretty effective mislead, and the story as a whole has a surprisingly epic feel to it, especially when you see Santa's newest technique for delivering presents. It's an action story not just coated with Christmas decor, but also rooted in the pure spirit of gift-giving. Remember kids, if you don't give your friends presents, then you will suffer the consequences. Justice League, comfort and joy. So how does the Justice League spend their holiday? Well, if you want to see Batman, he has his own, or you could just go watch It's Some Random Guys 'Twas the Night Before Christmas starring Batman, which you should see anyway because it's great. Here we follow 3 stories. First, Hawkwoman and Green Lantern in their new relationship are taking turns embracing each other's traditions, before the next episode where everything will become terrible. Second, John visits Superman's house for Christmas and, being a Martian and new to the holiday, gradually takes in what Christmas means to Earthlings. Finally, the Flash is trying to get a toy for some orphans while confronting one of his longtime nemeses. I was surprised how impactful each of these stories were, especially Flash's, considering holiday sold-out toy stories are a dime a dozen. But his exchange with his nemesis about kids and Christmas is quite poignant, plus Grodd is just awesome.
It is Christmas. Okay, but why did you hit me? You hit me first.
And John experiencing Christmas for the first time is almost completely conveyed visually, and you can really see through his eyes the warmth and feeling for the season and how it affects the people around him. It's one of the series' more character-focused stories without that much action, and honestly, I don't think they did enough of those. Low-key and intimate, perfect for a Christmas episode. Robot Chicken. All of their Christmas episodes. Yeah, that's gonna be a thing where I just cite all of the Christmas episodes of a given series, because if I had to do individual ones, a couple series would take up the majority of the spots. Still, considering Robot Chicken is just a series of vignettes, that actually makes a certain amount of sense. I just love Robot Chicken doing their usual thing with a Christmas background. Oh, their quaint and severely twisted mockery of Christmas classics and icons. Plus, it's stop motion. That just seems to suit the holiday for some reason. Throw in Dragon Ball Z and a Santa Frosty hybrid, and it's just what we always wanted for Christmas. Well, what Xmas would be complete without Futurama? Xmas story and a tale of 2 Santas, plus some other one from the later seasons that was just a variety of smaller stories I don't really remember. In the future, Christmas traditions have changed quite a bit. It's actually pronounced Xmas now. You take home a palm tree, and Santa is a robot gunning down anyone who dares to go outside on Christmas Eve. I thought it would be to punish last-minute shoppers, but instead it was a manufactured Santa where the nice standards were just set too high. In the second one, Bender tries to take his place without letting anybody know that, hey, the evil Santa is gone, so please stop trying to shoot at him. Haha, we laugh because it's really dark and un-Christmassy, and also because it's Futurama and it's really funny. So now we're not brought together by our materialism, but now by our fear and survival, and still manage to keep that shred of holiday merriment. Merry Xmas, everyone! Do you honestly think Simpsons roasting on an open fire is revered for being one of the greatest Christmas specials, or just for being the premiere of The Simpsons? I'm honestly kind of up in the air about it, but it's likely still one of The Simpsons' best Christmas episodes, just from the showcasing that genuine family, emotional, and financial struggle, and its really heartwarming ending. And while in their 20 plus years of Christmas stories, there are a number that are forgettable and just plain not good, but a lot of them are still pretty great. I really like the Treehouse wannabe Christmas story trilogies. They're fun little variations that are certainly a lot more pleasant than the barrage of Christmas is Ruined series. The one where Bart steals and has to face Marge's disappointment is genuinely hard to watch. I even like Holidays of Future Past, though most of the credit for that goes to the photo montage at the beginning and the scene where Lisa and Bart are drinking together. Also, despite some hiccups. Yeah, Dr. Seuss's birthday is not December 24th, but my personal favorite, even if Christmas only comes up in the last 5 minutes, is She of Little Faith, about Lisa's decision to become a Buddhist and what that means about her celebrating Christmas. Apart from being one of the more daring and interesting topics, I also think it's just the funniest of the bunch. Just remember, friends, that sometimes Simpsons still knows what it's doing. Sometimes. Bob's Burgers, and all of its holiday specials. Bob's Burgers really does do the whole charm and struggles of the every person's family better than any of its companions currently.
Oh, I love this tree.
It's the day after Halloween, Lynn.
And naturally, it has its own kooky set of Christmas episodes, which are all great. Which isn't saying much considering that so far there's only been 3. Christmas in a Car reenacts the movie Duel with a candy cane truck, and it's exactly how that sounds, just more Christmassy. And I really don't want to give anything away about God Rest Ye Merry Mannequins. Let's just say that the family inherits an unconventional Christmas guest. I'm always intrigued by an episode that can pull off a fantasy element that's so subtle you're not even sure if it's really fantasy. But the best is Father of the Bob, where we see the root of Bob's rough relationship to his father. And in true Christmas fashion, the tension naturally comes to a head in the form of an angry father-son cook-off. Doesn't it always? That resolves with a moving family reconnection. Bob's Burgers. It now officially owns Sundays. Where some shows see the holidays as a time to focus on quaint family togetherness, American Dad makes every Christmas episode a gigantic, over-the-top spectacle, usually with a supernatural fantasy edge. I could make a whole other video dedicated to the American Dad Christmas episodes. Really, I could, if people had voted for it. So these are the highlights. Stan is visited by the ghost of Christmas past to rekindle his Christmas spirit, only because it involved actual time travel, while in the past Stan's ruined the future, so now he needs to assassinate Ronald Reagan to save Christmas. Stan and Steve accidentally kill Santa, but he gets better and sends a revenge army after them, set to Trans-Siberian Orchestra. Steve gets kidnapped by Krampus, the musical, The Rapture, and all the Christmas spirit that entails, and is probably my personal favorite just for how far it goes with it. Yeah, you know that myriad number of cartoons with the "what if they were dead the whole time" conspiracy theory? Yeah, American Dad, the only one where that's technically canon. But the best overall for laughs and holiday sentiment is the most adequate Christmas ever, where Stan's obsession with the perfect Christmas kills him, and so for him to have a second chance and save his family from freezing to death, he has to heist his way into heaven and threaten God. Yeah, there's a couple of episodes that could disappear from existence and I wouldn't care, but I still look forward every year to what craziness American Dad will give us. Aw, we're not gonna get one this year. But speaking of Christmas craziness, Invader Zim, the most horrible Christmas ever. In a plan straight out of Pinky and the Brain, Zim decides his next plan to try and take over the world is to impersonate Santa, which by the way totally works just because that is how humanity is portrayed in this series.
Will being teleported to our doom be fun and Christmassy? Of course it will, you hideous fool.
So naturally, it's up to Dib to find a way to stop him before everyone is enslaved. It's kind of depressing to think we've actually reached a year where a handful of my followers might not actually know what Invader Zim is. How long ago was it on? Well, let's put it this way. The premiere date for Invader Zim was also the premiere date of The Fairly Odd Parents. Yeah, I still remember the commercials advertising both of their premieres. And Zim has become a cartoon favorite ever since then, with its dark, manic humor, its grim, grotesque design, and uncomfortable endings. And also, grr.
I want me 2 balls of glue to be my friends!
The Christmas episode was the very last one before its premature cancellation, and we miss it every day without a proper ending. Still, enjoy Alien Santa, his insane, quippy robot, his brain-dead followers, and the savior of Earth that ruined Christmas forever. Oh, and speaking of Pinky and the Brain... Oh look, it's Pinky and the Brain, who could have guessed? Brain decides his next plan to take over the world is to have Santa deliver a hypnotizing doll to every home in the world. So he and Pinky disguise themselves as elves and implant the doll's plans into his factory. Apparently Brain had a different plan for how to get all of the non-Christmas celebrating families, also all the ones that don't have kids. By itself, Pinky and the Brain is already incredibly funny. Every visual gag, every physical exaggeration, every ambitiously cynical versus childlike simpleton exchange, it's all just so great. But the real reason why so many people remember is because of its devastating, tear-jerking conclusion when Brain finally reads Pinky's letter to Santa. Yes, it stands out because it's unexpected for the tone of the show, but it's also just that sweet. And then it's not even done, because then you cry again when you see Pinky's gift for Brain. Yeah, nostalgia be damned, this is one of the greatest Christmas episodes, period. And speaking of moving tearjerkers... If his Thanksgiving special was somber and overdramatic, you ain't seen nothing yet. And this one executes it a lot better with Arnold's more frequent attitude of being the second coming of Christ, rather than whoever this whiner was. Arnold's boarding house has a secret Santa, and Arnold gets Mr. Wynn. And instead of getting a gift card and a candy cane of M&Ms like any normal person, Arnold goes to talk to him to figure out a personal gift for him. And then Mr. Wynn reveals a massive secret, that he has a daughter that he had to give up during the war in his homeland of Asia, and he's currently looking for her. So Arnold decides that he's going to find Mr. Wynn's daughter as his Christmas gift, the day before Christmas. And honestly, there's plenty of things about this special that make no sense. Like, how is he gonna find a girl in one day when her father's been looking for 20 years? Oh, well apparently the one place he never looked was the Bureau of Information. And of course you would have the exact same name. And I understand the sentiment of having the family together on Christmas, but did you really need a ticking clock for this conflict? It's not like you couldn't just continue the search after Christmas. Especially since for your dream to give someone else the greatest holiday, you're forcing some guy to sacrifice his holiday, and why am I nitpicking this? This is one of my favorite series, and this is one of my favorite specials. Because yes, it's impossible. But this is the kind of person Arnold is. He is the eternal optimist. He breathes Christmas spirit 24/7. But in many ways, the real heart of the episode is Helga's subplot, because it usually is, when she's trying to find the perfect gift for Arnold, and then overhears what Arnold is trying to do. And the conclusion is just beautiful. Yes, part of the plot makes no sense, and there's some clumsy frames of animation at the end, but again, what sells this is the execution. Everything in the last 5 minutes, the dialogue, the delivery, the music, the pacing, everything is actively trying to squeeze the feels out of your soul. Like the Pinky and the Brain episode, most 90s kids remember this episode as one of the heart-tugging moments of their childhood. Animaniacs does a Christmas Carol. Sure, it's the 100 millionth cartoon to do so, but in pure Animaniacs fashion, they pull it off amazingly. Potts is already the perfect Scrooge, but the true spark of the episode is the Warner siblings playing the ghosts, especially in the mini musical bites they sing while they do it. Man, they really are just perfected little mini moments of joy. The comedy all throughout is gold, but the true MVP award goes to Slappy Squirrel as Marley. Less than 30 seconds on screen, and everything she says is perfect.
What are you doing here?
That's what I'd like to know. The studio keeps giving me these stupid cameos.
There's a couple of other Animaniacs Christmas vignettes, including their own 'Twas the Night Before Christmas homage, but to me, no Animaniacs Christmas is complete without this classic.
To spell Santa's name is easy to do. You write S-A-N-T and another A too. But Noel, Noel, Santa's name has no L.
My family sings this every single year. I love you forever, Animaniacs, and I mean that for both of you. Community's Abeds Uncontrollable Christmas. How have I not watched this until just now? Yes, Community is a live-action show about an assortment of comedic personalities attending a community college, but this is 100% stop motion, baby, so count it. For this Christmas episode, the pop culture quipper that is Abed wakes up to find that the world has become stop motion, but apparently he's the only one that's noticed. Did he suddenly wake up in an alternate dimension, or is this all in his head? It's in his head. That's pretty definitely defined. But to figure out why he's done this, John Oliver suggests that they all indulge in his delusion by embarking on a cerebral fantasy journey to find the true meaning of Christmas. And everything about this is just amazing. First, it's incredibly funny, which you already know because John Oliver, but also comes from its meta humor about animated holiday specials, but mostly John Oliver. And also some of the back and forth between the characters or something. The episode also does a great job giving each of the characters their own concise moments, and you really don't have to have seen the show before to enjoy them. And it's another one of those when you're having so much fun with the ridiculousness that when the feels suddenly come out, it completely blindsides you. Trust me, the reason this is all happening is actually really adorable. It also gives me my new favorite non-sequitur Christmas phrase.
Christmas pterodactyl!
It also probably concludes with one of the cheesiest, most perfect statements about why this holiday is so great.
It's the crazy notion that the longest, coldest, darkest nights can be the warmest and brightest. Yeah, and when we all agree to support each other in that insanity, something even crazier happens. It becomes true.
And that pretty much just says everything. The holidays are filled with as much as you want to put in them. Or not if you don't care. So what is your favorite Christmas episode, Animaniacs? Check out my other Christmas special reviews, comment, like, subscribe, etc. And everyone have an amazing holiday.